we engage in these discussions when we separate, we're bitter, we're angry with one another. And here's a direct injunction from Allah where He's saying, avoid discussions with people of the book which will arouse bitterness. أستغفر الله لي ولكم ولجميع المسلمين الأحياء منهم والميتين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله الولي الحميد وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صاحب الخلق العظيم والنهج السديد اللهم صل وسلم على عبدك ورسولك محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم أما بعد فيا عباد الله المؤمنين. So in the first section of this khutbah, I refuted the myth of the spread of the sword and using the very directives of Allah in the Quran and saying that this was against the very spirit of Islam. In the second section of this khutbah, I put forth the general rule as enunciated in the Quran, guiding the relationships between Muslims and non-Muslims, being one of kindness, peaceful coexistence, and provided some evidence for that. In this part of the khutbah, I'm going to talk about the exceptions to the general rule and refer to a verse that almost every Islamophobic website will put forth. And this is, of course, Surah 5, verse 51 in the Quran. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تتخذوا اليهود والنصارى أولياء بعضهم أولياء بعض. O you who believe, do not take the Jews and the Christians for your allies and protectors. They are but allies and protectors to each other. This verse, of course, is often misquoted. And when you look at the analysis of this verse by Sheikh Yusuf Qaradawi, what he points out is that these verses are not unconditional. They do not apply to every Jew, Christian, or non-Muslims because they would otherwise contradict the general rule of kindness, of peaceful coexistence enunciated. The key word in this verse, of course, is the word awliya, where the word awliya means, allies and protectors. And in Arabic, as you know, there's a key difference between the word awliya and asdiqa. And the word asdiqa is basically basic friendship. Whereas Allah is clearly not using the word asdiqa. And this is the problem with translations. I was looking at a translation of the Quran this morning, and they translated it as friends. It's not friends, it's allies and protectors. The word awliya has a strong connotation inside of it of protection. And in another verse in the Quran, Allah is talking about the believers being awliya of one another. Okay? So, this special status of awliya is only reserved for the believers. But that doesn't mean we cannot have good relationships, barring protection, with Jews and Christians and non-Muslims. And as Sheikh Yusuf Qaradawi also points out, the next verse, Surah 5, verse 52, Allah explains that maybe the greater danger is from the hypocrites among the Muslims themselves, who keep friendships with Muslims and with Jews and Christians just in case at the time this verse was revealed that the Muslims are defeated. A second exception is the people who are bent on corrupting and ruining Muslims. And this is in Surah 3, verse 118 to 120, where Allah is saying, O you who believe, take not into your intimacy those outside your ranks. They will not fail to corrupt you. They only desire your ruin. Rank hatred has already appeared from their mouths. And the third point that you have to remember is that even in the case of exceptions, the door is not closed, because Islam has an attitude of tolerance. In Surah 2, verse 193, it is pointed out that when hostilities cease, Muslims can extend friendship to previous enemies. And as reported in Tirmidhi, Muhammad ﷺ said, hate your enemy mildly. He may become your friend one day. The last and final point I want to make is that Muslims are also allowed to seek help from non-Muslims in matters not concerning deen. Abdullah bin Uraykit, a polytheist, was the guide that showed the way to Muhammad ﷺ on the hijrah from Mecca to Medina. And Al-Zuhri points out that Muhammad ﷺ sought help from the Jews in a war and gave them a share of spoils. It's also allowed to give and accept gifts from non-Muslims. Salama radiallahu anha, a wife of the Prophet ﷺ, narrated the Prophet ﷺ said, I have sent Al-Najashi a robe and some silk. So in summary, the general rule of the relationship between Muslims and non-Muslims is one of peaceful coexistence, justice, and kindness. Islam is a religion of peace. One of Allah's name is of peace. We conclude our 5 daily prayers with salam. We greet each other with peace. The only exception is when specific people are trying to destroy our identity as Muslims. And then only these people may not be our friends, and then only as long as hostilities last. Jews and Christians are special, and if they treat us with respect, then we are not to be self-righteous. We are not to be arrogant. The Quran calls Muslims those who walk the earth with humility. And we should try as close as possible to be what the Quran calls us, Ummatul Wasat, the Ummah of balance, of moderation. يقول الله تعالى في القرآن الكريم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد اللهم اعز عن الأربعة الخلفاء الراشدين أبا بكر وعمر وعثمان وعلي وعن التابعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وعنا معهم برحمتك يا رب العالمين عباد الله المؤمنين اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين وانصر عبادك الموحدين والمجاهدين في كل مكان وزمان إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون فاذكروا الله يذكركم واشكروه على نعمه يزدكم ولا ذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون وأقم الصلاة